What the heck was that? I just finished watching The Last of Us Season 1. The whole thing. I decided to run through the show and complete it with this episode 9 that dropped tonight. And I'm still just sort of sitting here processing it. So I want to talk to you guys about the goods and the bads. The amazing acting, the lack of infected, and generally some of the pacing issues that I do think exist in this otherwise really impressive show. Let's get into that. What's up, gamers? DreamcastGuy here. Hi, hope you're having a great day. Please like this video and subscribe if you haven't already. So let me just start things off with a positive note and say I do think this show was a very big success. Not just financially. We're not just saying that, yeah, it had record-breaking views on HBO, and I'm sure that freaking Sony got $1 bajillion. I mean that from a fan aspect. I very much love the original Last of Us. I still think it's one of the very best game stories we've ever gotten. It's kind of impressive how much they managed to make such a bleak game, also sort of have those extra nice shimmers of hope. But I do think the show tried a bit too hard to rush to those big, amazing beats. I keep seeing tweets like this. The whole season of The Last of Us Part 1 was a 7 out of 10. It needed at least 3 more episodes and more infected. The number one complaint I am seeing across the internet is definitely, well, the talk about the fact that there is just very, very few infected. I mean, the cordyceps monsters, as cool as they look, the ones stuck in the walls especially, these monsters destroyed the entire planet in pretty much one day. You would expect them to be more omnipresent. I keep seeing stuff like this from Benji Cells. This is a very viral tweet, actually. And he said, as much as I'm absolutely loving the Last of Us series, this is the one complaint I've had. I understand toning down the infected to focus on these characters, but I think they went a bit too far in diminishing the infected. Now, this, I think, is the key word, the diminish infected. I really enjoy the game, especially that combat. Last of Us Part 1 and Last of Us Part 2 had a bunch of very, very tense, expertly crafted moments of making a Molotov cocktail, trying to blow up some infected that are trying to chase you down, trying to kill a guard before he can alert his buddies and you get completely swamped. I think that there is a brilliant fear that has 0 jump scares in the Last of Us games, that it felt very strange at times, especially because when you start to actually discuss the fact that really the acting in the show was incredibly top-notch. I mean, it's insane to see how much Pedro Pascal truly made the character of Joel his own. It felt like classic Joel from the games, but also with these little subtle extra bits. Pedro Pascal killed it, and so did Bella Ramsey. At the start, I was a bit off-put by her as Ellie, just because she did feel different, and I am such a big Ellie fan, but she grew to completely dominate. Bella Ramsey as Ellie was insane. The part of the show that I definitely enjoyed the most was, well, honestly, the changes that came to additional story elements, more showing of the science, how the cordyceps originally were discovered, scientists actually discussing why this threat is unstoppable. I like these weird flashbacks where they're talking about bombing major cities to hopefully at least stem the tide of this impossible apocalypse. The stuff that is completely made up for the show, I think, is 10 out of 10 perfect. But I guess the problem that ended up coming from that is that we ended up having some minor pacing issues. I keep seeing a lot of this, actually, just tons and tons and tons of people saying that, it feels a bit short. They really did try to go from major element, giraffes, the bloater showing up. It did feel like they were really just trying to go, okay, this is the greatest hits of amazing games. Like, a lot of these replies are being like, man, this works, but they just rushed it. 9 out of 10, I want to give it higher, but I wanted 5 zombies. It felt a bit rushed, but I'd still give it an 8 out of 9. I mean, it's interesting how many people are just saying rushed, rushed, rushed. The game is always better. I still think this is a really, really good show, but I am kind of curious already about the secondary discussions of morality. Of course, if we could get into the ending of The Last of Us, they replicated it for the most part. The ending of The Last of Us, of course, has Joel going absolutely ballistic. He finally gets Ellie, this person who is immune to the cordyceps, who cannot be infected, and they take her to a hospital, the Firefly headquarters of sorts, to finally study this infection and possibly synthesize some sort of vaccine of sorts, make something that can end this madness, maybe actually save the world. And before they get a chance to do that, they tell him straight up to his face, Joel, this task, this attempt to cure people is going to kill Ellie. We need to literally cut her brain out. We think that the cordyceps live in your skull and that somehow her being immune to it, it requires she die on the surgery table. And he loses it immediately. He just murders everybody. And in the show, I feel like they go even further to kind of make Joel seem like the bad guy. People that hold up their hands and are not armed still get executed. Everybody that gets in his way, Joel immediately kills them. And a lot of people are talking about it like, did Joel do the right thing? And I have to say, I still say I am on the side of Joel. I actually even tweeted out, Joel did nothing wrong. I just tweeted this out because I am a big believer in the fact that if you love somebody, they are worth more than the world. I have loved ones personally that if they were in this circumstance, I would die to try and protect them. I would do everything in my power to try and get them off that surgery table. Because, I mean, that's kind of the point of The Last of Us. When it comes down to these last little scrapes of humanity, it takes that extra bit of oomph to get out of the bed and still actually fight to keep living. And Ellie is that light shining bright in the darkness. I think I love this show for a lot of different reasons, but I do enjoy the fact that they felt comfortable altering the timeline a bit. I did like the extra bits of showing, where Ellie's mom gave birth, showing maybe kind of how Ellie got her immunity. Her mom, apparently played by Ashley Johnson, was bit during the course of giving birth. So we ended up getting like one bit of tiny cordyceps, I guess, getting into her prenatal bloodstream, essentially. It's an interesting change to the story itself. I like the alterations they did with, obviously, episode 3, which is still just insane. The life and death of Bill. Man, I'll be honest, I'm still just kind of sitting here in awestruck beauty. I like what this show did, but I am still very much stuck on the lack of any sort of combat. People actually now, there are so few zombies in the entire show. People actually counted it. There's about 6 infected in the 9 episodes. Infected were shown 6 times out of the 9 episodes. Okay, that doesn't sound too bad, but it is a bit weird that, honestly, we didn't get a chance to see more of the terror that they're supposed to create. It felt, in my opinion, like a bit of a plot hole that early on they explain how the infected communicate, how they can actually, if you even step on a mushroom, it can send a shock wave to the nest and they'll come and get you. It felt like they were trying to advance the lore and the universe and explain how the infected were so omnipresent and unstoppable. So it feels strange when they were physically downplayed in the show itself. It just feels a bit strange that they don't have more infected overall. I mean, that's just a personal taste. I wish we had had stuff even in the background. There were so many scenes in the show where they're just driving down the road or walking across an overpass or inside of a building, and we didn't even see infected off in the distance. I'm not asking for tons and tons and tons of combat. I understand that TV viewers would have eventually gotten exhausted the 900th time that Joel threw a brick or made a Molotov cocktail out of moose piss. I understand that they had to tone that down for pacing issues, but I do think they went too hard on that. I guess I'm most curious, though, as to how they're going to do season 2. Bella Ramsey was great. Bella Ramsey was a phenomenal Ellie. But, I mean, let's face it, there is a physical practicality needed for that second season. If she's going to go toe-to-toe with Abby, how are they going to do such a big and controversial story? I'm just not sure how. I guess I am incredibly excited for Last of Us Season 2. And even despite the faults of Last of Us Season 1, I would give it a solid 8.5, 9 out of 10 in that department. And really, I guess I'm just wondering how much they're going to rewrite Season 2. Because Pedro Pascal is a very beloved actor. People would die for Joel. And I think when that golf club comes out, some fans are not going to be happy, especially the new people that are just showing up. But these have just been some off-the-cuff thoughts that I'm filming here at pretty much midnight. I hope you guys have a great day whenever you see this video. Please give it a like, subscribe, and like the video, and whatever. Keep dreaming. That's what I meant to say. Okay, I'm going to go to bed. Thanks so much for watching that video. If you want to see something else, you can always click this link to see what I put up last, or, subscribe and see what's coming up next. Also, I promise that whatever I do, it'll try not to suck.